Every bomber gunner was taught the same rule. Don't fire too early. Wait until the enemy is close. Wait until the numbers say you have a chance. Wait for permission from the rulebook. And while they waited, bombers exploded. By 1943, the skies over Germany were littered with burning aircraft and falling men, until one skinny 23-year-old gunner decided to ignore everything he'd been taught. He didn't fire to hit, he fired to break the enemy's will, and in doing so, he became the deadliest bomber gunner in American history. Summer 1943. American B-17 bombers grind their way toward Germany at 27,000 feet. Inside the aircraft, temperatures plunge to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Metal burns the skin. Breath crystallizes in the air. And every man on board knows the truth. Statistically, they are already dead. During what would later be called Black Week, the 8th Air Force lost 140 heavy bombers in 7 days. Nearly 1,500 airmen gone. The math was unforgiving. At those loss rates, the bomber force would be wiped out before the war could be won. The problem wasn't firepower. Each B-17 carried 13 50 caliber machine guns. It was a flying fortress, but the fortress wasn't fighting back. For every 100 rounds fired, fewer than 2 bullets hit an attacking German fighter. The manuals said the gunners were doing everything right. Reality said otherwise.
Staff Sergeant Michael Aruf didn't look like a killer. He was 23 years old, barely 130 pounds, with a smooth face that made him look like a teenager. The crew called him the Kid. He came from Springfield, Massachusetts, the son of Lebanese immigrants who scraped by during the Great Depression. Michael dropped out of high school after 3 years to help his family survive. He wasn't book smart. He wasn't impressed by authority. But he had one dangerous trait. He trusted what he saw more than what he was told. When he enlisted in 1942, the Army trained him like everyone else. Same doctrine, same math, same rules. Fire at 400 to 600 yards. Calculate deflection. Short, controlled bursts. Michael memorized it. Then he went to war and watched it fail.
On his first missions over Europe, Aruf followed the book. He waited, he calculated, he fired exactly when he was supposed to. And he watched German fighters shred bombers anyway. He watched tracers pass harmlessly through empty sky. He watched B-17s erupt into fireballs. He watched parachutes bloom. Too late. The German pilots weren't stupid. They attacked head-on at closing speeds over 600 miles per hour, fired their cannons, and broke away before bomber guns could track them. By the time a fighter reached 600 yards, it was already killing. The bomber gunners were always reacting, always late. Michael Aruf started asking a question no one else wanted to ask. What if the doctrine itself was wrong? The realization came on the ground, cleaning his guns between missions. The manual said firing earlier was pointless. Hit probability was too low. But Aruf noticed something else. By waiting for the perfect range, gunners gave German pilots the initiative. They allowed the enemy to stabilize, aim, and fire without pressure. So Aruf flipped the problem. What if he didn't fire to hit? What if he fired to disrupt, to force the enemy to react, to flinch, to break formation, to ruin the attack before it even began? It was simple, it was logical, and it violated everything he'd been taught. Over Kassel, Germany, Michael Aruf sits alone in the tail of his B-17. Through the plexiglass turret, He sees them forming up behind the bomber stream. 8 fighters, 10, 15. They aren't rushing. They're circling, like wolves sizing up wounded prey. The intercom crackles. "Tail gunner, you see them?" "I see them, sir." The fighters close in. 600 yards approaches. Michael Arruth does nothing. Then, at 900 yards, he squeezes the triggers. The twin .5 calibers erupt. Long bursts, unbroken fire. Over the intercom, someone mutters, "Arruth's wasting ammo again." But something unexpected happens. The German fighters scatter. They break formation. They weren't expecting fire this early. When they regroup and dive again, they fly straight into a wall of tracers. Now the fight is on Arruth's terms. The fighters attack again. A cannon shell shatters the oxygen line. Michael's vision narrows. His thoughts slow. Another shell jams one of his guns. He clears it with numb fingers and keeps firing. A fragment tears into his shoulder. He doesn't stop. One fighter explodes. Another trails fire into the clouds. A third disintegrates under his guns. The fourth tries to escape. Michael tracks it, fires, and watches it fall. 4 fighters, 1 mission. When the Germans finally break away, the tail of the bomber looks like it's been through a shredder. Michael Arruth collapses when the plane lands, blood-soaked and half-conscious. Intelligence officers don't believe it. 4 kills by a bomber gunner sounds like fantasy, but the crew confirms it. Other crews confirm it. Gun camera footage shows impacts. Still, the controversy explodes. Gunnery instructors are outraged. This violates doctrine. He got lucky. If everyone fires early, we'll waste ammunition. Operational commanders push back. Our men are dying following your rules. A senior commander finally steps in. Test it, he orders. Let other gunners learn from him. Michael Arruth isn't punished. He's decorated. Other gunners copy his technique. Early, aggressive, relentless fire. German pilots begin breaking off sooner. Their attacks become sloppy. Their confidence drops. Bomber losses fall, not because every bullet hits, but because fear and hesitation change behavior. By 1944, losses to fighters are nearly cut in half. Conservatively, historians estimate around 750 men survived because of tactics inspired by Michael Arruth. Michael Arruth completes his tour with 17 confirmed aerial victories. No American bomber gunner ever surpasses that record. Then he goes home. No fame, no interviews, no speeches. The medals sit in a drawer. He works, raises a family, says almost nothing about the war. Michael Arruth didn't invent a weapon. He discovered a truth. Sometimes the rulebook is wrong. Sometimes authority lags behind reality. And sometimes survival depends on one person willing to trust his own eyes. 750 men came home because a skinny kid from Massachusetts broke the rules. He never asked to be remembered, but he should be.